Welcome to This Week in Habsland. I am Jordan and he is Depressed, and we are here to, I guess, walk people through our emotions, recapping the Olympic tournament in what was, Brian, a pretty rough game to watch. And I want to start here. The most pissed off people right now are the Winnipeg Jets fans, right? Every spring, they have to watch Connor Hellebuck take a giant dump on the ice and defend him. Be like, no, listen, he's getting a bad rap. Like, okay, game one was bad, but look at his numbers after the second period on the third shot. And then today he decides to go all world and have a game, at least from the stat, like from the box score, will live on in history as I think it finished at 40 saves or 41 saves as Team USA takes out Canada in the overtime 2-1. Is it them? Are they like, how is Winnipeg doing right now?
They must be livid, I'd expect. Yeah. But they also have that feeling of this is our guy and he did it for them and he's the reason, which he absolutely is. Because you said the 40-ish shots. What's more impressive to me is the fact that probably 34 of those shots were unreal chances from one of the best shooters in the game. And he stood tall. It didn't look like he was going to be beatable at all at one point. And that reach back paddle save that he made late, that like, come on, man. With the best players in the world, the best scorers in the world, you couldn't score on him. Cale Makar had a beauty, but that was the only guy who could beat him. So yeah, absolutely. Hellebuck, unreal game. Winnipeg Jets fans, I don't know what would counterbalance, because like I'm at the moment literally holding a teddy bear who has a Montreal Canadiens jersey on. I'm kind of clutching it, and it's helping. It's really helping. So you could kind of think about your own team and be like, hey, Uri Slafkovsky had a good tournament. Let's talk about that for an hour.
Well, maybe not an hour, but we'll certainly get into Slav's tournament. I think it's also especially worse for Jets fans because Josh Morrissey got hurt right away.
Of course.
And a guy who, based on how the tournament rolled out, was severely missed by Team Canada. Maybe not so much in this game, but certainly in the quarterfinal and the semifinal, you were like, wow, we are a Josh Morrissey short. There's way too much Thomas Harley going on right now. And Harley was fine. He was just, I think, asked to do way more than maybe everyone was comfortable with. So right. I think it's especially worse because it's not only was your guy not there, the other guy that you sent is the main reason that this game, look, in an alternate universe, this game finishes 5-1 Canada. It's a walk. And we can go with the McDavid breakaway, the 5-on-3 that never materialized, the Celebrini half break. There's obviously the big save on Taves that that one should have gone in. McKinnon missing the wide open net.
Yeah.
And on and on.
Brutal.
Like,
and the fire alarm.
Yeah.
There was an insane fire alarm late that something should have happened there. And no matter how much momentum that you have, no matter how many times you take 19 shots in a period, which was the most in the entire tournament that they did, which that's surprising in and of itself. How didn't you do that against a weaker opponent? You waited till USA.
Yeah.
But they couldn't do it.
So I think the legacy of this game will be very interesting because I think, again, us watching it, look, we're never going to be objective. I don't think the people listening to us expect us to be objective right now or even want us to be objective. Canada was the better team today. Connor Hellebuck was the best player on the ice. This is hockey. It's a best of one. If the goalie is the best player on the ice, you likely win the game. So that does not detract. This isn't like, I'm trying to think of other instances like 2018 women's gold medal. The USA were the better team and Canada was holding on and holding on and holding on. Eventually the US win that game. That one made sense. Like the better team eventually won that game. And the legacy of that game is the US finally breaks over Canada. 2026, I think the women's, we're not going to get into it much, but like that one was, this is this juggernaut USA team versus this underachieving Canadian team. But the final itself was neck and neck and Canada played incredibly well. This game, like I'm trying to remember the last time this high stake game in an international setting was won by the goalie. We see it in the playoffs. We'll see it in a best of 7 that there are performances by goaltenders where they just black out, and Cam Ward in 2006 comes to mind. But in the international tournament, like when you look back at this game, yes, the USA won on a Jack Hughes overtime goal. Connor Hellebuck had 41 saves. But I think you'll look back on it and be like, at least, and maybe that part of that is our job in understanding it. And when we look back at this in a couple years of, okay, but Canada was definitely the better team and Connor Hellebuck stole this game. I think that is a much more accurate representation of it. The sad part is it doesn't change the fact, and both can be true here, right? It does not change the fact that the US won the game and won the gold medal. Both are true.
Both are true, and you can never take that away from them. It's literally gold. They can wear it around their neck forever.
Yeah.
And they deserve the win. Hellebuck especially. Boldy also was phenomenal. He scored the goal and was physical all game and taking pucks away and kind of a nuisance to Team Canada. This is tough.
Yep.
This is really tough because also we've been talking about the goaltending and it's time. It's that time of year again for Brian's mea culpa for Binnington because he had a good tournament.
Did he?
He was good in this game.
Did he? So here, let me. This is a good, important discussion. Look, at the end of the day, like, I don't think the Team Canada got like A-level goaltending. I think they got solid B-level goaltending. This team, however, was built. But by the way, it was built for the goalie to make 4 to 5 big saves, never to steal a game.
Right.
Binnington did not steal a game. He was great in the Czechia game, the first one, which is, I think, revisionist history will tell us, like, that game was way closer. It was 5-0. It was 2-0 at second intermission. Really close game.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
From that point onwards, he has an .892 save percentage in his final 4 games in the tournament. Now, that glove save he makes, I think it was at the beginning of overtime.
Yeah.
Great. So, like, he played well when he absolutely had to, but Canada fell behind in the quarters, in the semis, and in the final. And that is, I mean, the very first shot. It's that we can do the Taves and Makar not having a great. That was a terrible shift, and it leads to the U.S.'s first chance and probably only chance of the first period at 5-on-5 at least. So, like, again, this Team Canada with Jordan Binnington in nets was your goalie was never going to win you a game. He was merely going to tread water. Whereas it is, I think, a fair assumption to say if it's Logan Thompson in net, you might have had better goaltending. And maybe the Czechia game, that Palat goal doesn't go in and we don't freak out. Now we don't get the Suzuki moment. So I guess whatever.
We'll take it.
But I think Jordan Binnington was perfectly average in this tournament. He made some big saves. Sure. I think also the CBC coverage was incredibly favorable to Binnington. Like anytime this man made a save, it was up. See, that's Jordan Binnington coming up in the big moment. Right. He, again, .892 save percentage in his last 4 games.
He's the goaltender who happens to have a shot being taken at him in a big moment. So yeah,
he was fine. He was not the reason they lost this game. But
okay, well, so there it is. So that's my mea culpa.
Sure.
Is that he wasn't as trash as we thought he would be. He didn't cost us the tournament either. Team Canada being unable to score on numerous golden opportunities is the reason for the tournament being lost. And might I add, in other games, it was similar.
Yeah.
Games that you should have just absolutely taken over. Your goaltender should not be a factor.
Yeah.
Up until this game, up until USA, it shouldn't be. And then it was because Hellebuck was godly and Binnington was never going to become Carey Price.
Again, you look at how this tournament was playing out. Like Saros in the semifinal was the same deal. And this was actually a pretty consistent pattern the entire tournament where Canada, first period, I haven't checked the splits, but I am confident in saying this team got better with every period. And part of that was wearing down your opponent, which was why the first Czechia game is basically tied before the Celebrini goal with 20 seconds left. And then we get one more goal in the second, and we get 3 in the third. The Switzerland game followed a very similar pattern. The France game, it was a joke, but it was also a very similar pattern where it was 3-1 with 5 minutes left in the second, but you are slowly breaking them down, and then it's 5-1 before we know it, it's 10-2.
Right.
The Czech game too, like there's so many things for us to talk about, but like it's very even and a little too tight. Weirdly, the Crosby injury happens, and then the team just dials it up 7 notches. And from that point, they annihilate Czechia. But again, because your goalie was not there to win you stuff beforehand, just tread water, you barely beat Czechia when you demolished them in the final 30 minutes. Finland gets up 2-0 on 2 fine goals. And from the Finland again, ironically, Finland stopped trying to score, which is the exact same thing Switzerland said when they went up 2-0 against Finland in their quarterfinal. I thought that was funny. That's how it worked. But Finland, whether they stopped actively trying to score or Canada just had this onslaught from the second period onward, the shots were something like 30-8. Like it was an annihilation because of the waves of Canadian forwards coming in and at you. This game as well. Shots were 9-8, I think. I have the stat that these terrible double IHF stats, by the way. I know I'm not the only one to complain about them. Shots were 8-8 after the first period, and that's a little misleading because of all the the power play the U.S. gets towards the end. It was 9.
Well, and it was all at the end. Yeah,
exactly.
Because Canada, I think, was up 8-3 in shots. We had the first like 4 or 5, and then first shot goes in on Binnington.
But that's it.
Then
it's the Avalanche. Then we slowly took the game over, and you looked up, and the shots were 36-17 all of a sudden. This was
and then comes grievance number 1.
Yeah.
Which is the 3-on-3 overtime.
Okay.
Because it was dominance.
Yeah.
It was dominance up until it's, oh, okay, we're going to do a ping pong match now.
It's tough.
Just back and forth up the ice. Either team can win, which, I know they got to expedite it. It's on the last day. And you know what? I have a solution for this, but we're going to get into that later when we ask, tournament thoughts, when we talk about everything having to do with the tournament itself. But that was a factor. And then another factor was the refereeing.
Sure.
I'm surprised we're, 10, 11 minutes into this thing, and I'm only mentioning it now. But that was bad refereeing in the final game.
It was terrible. It was awful. I'm just so tired and talking about these penalties and the fact that you can have such a high profile too many men that weirdly no one noticed in real time against Czechia. That thank goodness Canada has the Suzuki and Marner 2-goal comeback, and we don't have to make this a big deal for what would have been most likely the most egregious non-call in 30 years of hockey. So, okay, we make our way through that. But then another too many men happens. And it became very clear at some point where it's puck over glass and high sticks are the only things that are going to be called.
Right.
And I forget who got the high stick. Was it Jarvis? Someone, I forget who got it on Team Canada, received the high stick.
Hughes got it to the teeth.
Yeah. Well, both guys lost teeth, but because Canada's didn't draw blood, the whole drawing blood thing I've always found really weird that's an extra one, but losing a tooth doesn't count. Anyways, look, the refereeing was bad. It was very obvious early on that both teams were going to get 2 power plays, and that would be it. Having said that, Canada had a power play about a minute 10 after the U.S. 4-minute got cut short, where they once again just couldn't convert. It sucks. It's going to sting for a while. But again, it is what it is. They played better. They were the better team, but the United States have won gold.
Yep. Couldn't finish. On that play specifically, the transition between, 4-on-4 hockey to the power play, Marner, very heads up play to just hold that puck. And I think they should have done it for the entire minute. I'm not sure why they kind of lazily just shot the puck up ice, letting the, it benefits you to hold that longer. I am nitpicking because Canada just lost and has the silver medal, which at times in this tournament, the silver medal seemed out of reach for Team Canada. So we can potentially find solace in that at this moment in time. And I know it's very fresh. What's worse to you, losing to USA in the final or those other games being so close?
In terms of what would have felt worse as a loss to lose earlier on?
What's more of an indictment on the quality of Team Canada hockey?
It would have been probably losing that Czechia game, because at the end of the day, Finland is one of the most consistent. They are a top 4 nation. They are consistently always there. They're somehow always in a bronze medal match. And I think that game was fine. The way Canada played today, they were miles better than the United States. But that's not how it works. And I have to keep adding this caveat because I feel like I sound like a homer, but it is the truth. The Canadians, Team Canada played their best game of the tournament. I don't think that comes close.
Other than some holding the sticks a little too tight because of the nerves. Other than that, I think you're absolutely right.
Yeah, look, the save on Taves with the paddle, that's great Hellebuck stuff. It's the McKinnon missing the open net one that of all of them.
That one hurts the most. Yeah.
Of all of them, it's that one to me. There's a McDavid breakaway, the Celebrini half break. Probably 1 or 2 of those probably should be going in. The McKinnon open net miss, that's probably the most egregious one, especially that was one of the later ones in the third. Tough game, tough loss. They'll be fine. It's going to be a game remembered. The good news is, if you want to start to pivot a little bit in terms of how you position this going forward, it's a split. We got the 4 nations, they got the Olympics. Now the Olympics are held in higher regard, but it's a split.
Both were best on best.
Both are best on best.
Games.
Both were overtime games. And what the Americans have said for the last 12 months is, well, if Quinn Hughes was playing, things would have been different, right? And now we're going to get into the other part we haven't mentioned again, 15 minutes in. Canada had 4 guys out of this lineup. Anthony Cirelli, Braden Point didn't even make the tournament. because good on them to say, hey, we're too banged up. Last second, we got to pull out. Josh Morrissey, I mentioned, missed the whole tournament. And then Sidney Crosby, that I mentioned in passing earlier.
Yeah.
Basically doesn't play in the entire elimination rounds. He plays the first period against Czechia. I think gets hurt really early on. There's a Gudas hit and there's another hit. There's a couple hits he got.
Yeah. And Gudas kind of lies on top of him for a bit. And
then Crosby's
really
out. And
that.
We'll see. I'll be very curious to see across the board how hurt guys are. Because Nathan McKinnon was an idiot against France and definitely hurt his leg. And then would appear that he got some type of really bad virus because he looked like a ghost, literally. Even when he scored the winner against Finland, he just looked like incredibly pale. So I'm curious to know if some of these guys are going to sit out a game or two on their way back. Crosby on the other end, Morrissey too. I wonder how long these guys are going to be out. Not having your captain in there, like look from the face-off stuff circle. Bo Horvat, we're going to talk about Cooper and understanding, like, did he do a good job coaching? The one thing he figured out immediately was Horvat's a bottom six center, and I'm going to ride that guy. Not enough. Like he went 11-3 in face-offs. Today, he was 8-3 after 2 periods, and he only got 3 more faceoffs the rest of the game. To me, that's a mistake. At least he understood what type of player Bo Horvat was. Not having Sid there for those faceoffs. Like Suzuki was terrible from the faceoff circle. He went 1-5 today. McKinnon, I think, was more or less at 50-50. Missing Sid in here definitely played a role. And again, like it's a 50-50 thing right now. It sucks that it's not ours for the next 2 years until we get to the World Cup in 2028. And that's just how it goes.
Yeah, it's hard, man. Not having Sidney Crosby, more so than the leadership and the captaincy not being there. This is, as you said, a good faceoff taker and a guy who can stay on the ice after he's won the draw. Yeah. Horvat, in comparison to McKinnon, to these other guys who could be on the bench waiting for him to win the draw and then go out, which coaches are more leery about doing, which I totally get. Like, you want your best unit out there from the start. And Crosby, he doesn't pose that problem. And then Suzuki goes up to the second line, quote unquote. He did not have a lot of ice time today.
No.
He I don't think he really ever got the full trust, but
no, okay. So let's get into the Cooper part of it. So look, we finished second. Okay. Do you want to talk at all about the game-winning goal? I'm nauseous thinking about it. Like, not a great play by Nathan McKinnon, and I don't really have anything else to say.
Pretty bad. No, very bad play. No, we don't have to dwell on it. I mean,
okay, it's fine.
Yeah,
John Cooper.
It. I don't want to think about it.
John Cooper.
Yeah,
so
John Cooper.
We can fit the Suzuki discussion into here because I think it was very apparent that these are tournaments, and this is quite frankly where some of the lower rung teams, and even the middle of the pack Czechia, Switzerland teams, you notice they have chemistry. Most of these guys play every spring together at the World Championships. You saw it with Denmark. You saw it with Latvia. Those were some of the more fun games not because the quality of hockey was that high, but because it was a very cohesive unit. Canada, USA, Sweden and Finland too, probably not as drastic, but those guys as well don't have that level of chemistry because they never played together. We had the 4 nations last year, so that was 4 games this year, another 6 games this year. So they played 10 games together. I found John Cooper really did not, I don't think he did a great job in terms of, we can start with the forwards because that's where Nick is, in finding chemistry for the offensive trios. Immediately, like, I don't know if you get credit for McDavid-Celebrini, but sure, like they were together from day one, they were dynamite.
You put 2 of the most creative, speedy, talented, amazing players in the world together, they're going to do well. Congratulations, you figured out what anybody could have figured out. No credit there.
Okay, Nick Suzuki at wing.
It does not work.
Did not work.
Does not work.
No. Did not work once. And he only went to center when Crosby got hurt. And he looked way better. I think he was 4th among forwards in ice time in the semifinal. It was only like 15 minutes, but he was way up there when it comes to his deployment at 5-on-5 at that point. The part that was kind of the most insane to me, again, there's a lot of things I think Cooper screwed up in this tournament. Again, at the end of the day, when it got to the final, it didn't matter. What happened, like the thing that decided the final was Connor Hellebuck. These other criticisms I have of the team were relevant for other parts of the tournament. I think today became a little bit less so that. So like, I'm splitting hairs a bit, but like.
Sure. I'll have some grievances with today, but go ahead.
Why was Nick Suzuki never put on the power play?
Why was Brad Marchand put on the power play?
That's the name. That's 100% the name to bring up. Of course. That's egregious.
That was yeah.
Before the tournament started, I said, we had a discussion, right? Like, what's the worst case scenario here? What is the screw up that not even Cooper makes, that just like that happens? You were like Binnington being terrible. And I told you, I was trying to find a new angle here. And I said loyalty. I said Cooper's loyalty here. And I think that burned him because we saw this team had barely any roster turnover. You had 4 new forwards, no new defensemen, and 2 new goalies. Darcy Kempfer was never going to play. Who cares? Logan Thompson got the 1 game. It was the token 1 game we all thought he'd get. He never saw the puck again. The 4 forwards were Horvat, Wilson, Celebrini, and Suzuki. Celebrini is otherworldly. Nick Suzuki, like Horvat figured out the role. It was, I think, still underutilized because we can talk about how the fact that Sam Bennett's line was the second over the boards most of the time in this game against Team USA, which
caused chaos, which was that's the only reason for that.
It's Suzuki not being on the power play and being a winger for half the tournament, I think is a huge misuse of it. And I think the moment you saw Nick go to center, he became better. His team had of this, the thing that drove me the most bonkers with these incredible talents, they love to do stuff off the rush. And this Canadian team, because of their defense not being very fast, they needed to cycle the puck a lot more. Nick understood that, and Nick, when his line was out there, and I thought with him and Marner had something by the end of the tournament.
Yes, Suzuki Marner is fun.
But like they were cycling the puck a bit more with Mark Stone. Credit to Mark Stone, had a decent tournament. So that's my Nick Suzuki stuff. That's the main thing on Cooper. Like he just couldn't figure out non-McDavid centered lines.
Non-McDavid and non-chaos, which are the two most obvious things to be able to do. Do you give him any credit for finding Marner Suzuki? Like 2 playmakers?
But he was forced into doing it because Crosby got hurt. It was Crosby, Marner, Stone. And then
But he could have very easily broken up the top line, brought a natural center down from there and said, screw Nick Suzuki till the end. Because I don't honestly think in his eyes at any point Nick Suzuki was viewed as an option until the injury.
100%. Yeah, Nick Suzuki, he was trying to make the Suzuki, Hagel, and McKinnon at center line work for a good chunk of this tournament. They would go with the nuclear option, end of a period when they really needed it. Today, for the gold medal match, they said, screw it, we're going with those guys from the start, and they rode them the whole game. And that was smart. And I kind of understand the gamesmanship there, where it's like minimize the amount of tape on this line. I'm presuming that was the idea here, to kind of split up McDavid, McKinnon, and Celebrini. But ultimately, like in the quarters, semi, and final, I wonder how much they actually played together, those 3 guys on the top line, because I would presume they still ended up playing. They ended every game together. They just maybe didn't start every game together, and losing those shifts and wasting Hagel and Suzuki on a wing, to me, didn't work. The chaos line, I hated it. I did not like Sam Bennett's tournament at all. No, I didn't think he was good. And anymore, he took dumb penalties the whole time. And I'm very happy. Like he did that dumb stuff against Saros in the semifinal where he runs into him. I'm very happy I don't have to root for this guy anymore. And I'm also very happy the Panthers are most likely going to miss the playoffs, knock on wood and all that. So I don't have to see him anymore. Brad Marchand should have not been on this team. I don't think he was good at all. The power play stuff drives me bonkers. What from like a utilization standpoint, the Cooper part of the discussion, where did you land on it? You can take it to the defenseman if you want, but on Cooper's end, what did you see in terms of like the forward deployment?
Marchand was the most egregious.
Yeah.
You having to use him at all, it boggles my mind. The fact that he was there, the fact that once he was there, he was on the power play, made less than no sense to me. I don't know how many times he had the puck on his stick, and we had just watched 3 incredible Canadian players receive the puck, pass it off within a split second, and then he gets it and stands there and is too slow to retrieve it because it bounced slightly off his stick. Like he just was not sharp at all. He should have been aged out of this tournament. He's obviously aged out of the next one, but this one should have been the one where they were like, you know what, thanks for everything, watch from home.
Yeah, like what I found really annoying was he plays the first game against Czechia and then he sits out the next 2. You sit out one, okay, right? You're trying to get everybody a game. Really like that from Cooper. We saw who was it? Jackson Lacombe, never even dressed. So I don't know if that means he doesn't get a medal, but he doesn't even get, at least Kapanen until the bronze medal match was dressed in a couple games. Yeah, I don't think he was getting shifts, but he was dressed. I thought that's what they were doing, right? Okay, let's get Jarvis in here. They got the injury on the defense, which we'll get into. But Darcy Kempfer was the backup in that game, so he got at least get in the warm something, get an experience. The fact that he missed 2 games, Brad Marchand, to me, I'm like, oh, he's really not healthy. And look, Crosby ends up getting hurt, so it doesn't he would. Anyways, I don't think Brad Marchand was healthy enough to be at this tournament. I thought it was pretty selfish or selfless. That point in Cirelli last second, or you know what, it's the best for the team, we're gonna step away. but we didn't get that from Brad Marchand. I would not be shocked if Marchand's going to miss half of the 5 of the next 10 games in and out of the lineup.
That'll be really telling. That'll be really telling. If he misses no games, I'll be surprised.
Yeah, I will be too. What else?
Yeah, I don't know. You know what? I feel bad even dwelling on him. Like you're right. He's obviously hurt. He's old at this point. I don't know. I question the decision. The power play thing. I keep coming back to it. You're probably sick of hearing about it, but it's nonsensical to me. He was so slow. He couldn't retrieve pucks. The things that he's there to do, he was not able to do.
Yeah.
So why is he there at all? And yeah, Cirelli point walking off, respect to them, as you said, that makes a big difference. Crosby coming out, then you're forced. So can you imagine if Bedard was there?
Yeah. Yeah.
There's your next absolute firework guy who's going to do something special. And Marchand was just not able to do that. Yeah, Bennett as well.
Listen, it's
why?
I don't know. On the Marchand thing one more time. Nick Suzuki's third in the NHL in power play points, behind Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, but that's because Suzuki has good trigger guys. Canada. Oh yeah, right. Which okay, you know what? Screw it. The power play.
Yeah.
They know you're trying to hit Celebrini. They know that Celebrini's the trigger man. Are there no other trigger men among the best players in the world? Makar sure got a lot of goals.
Yeah.
You know, it just every play ended with Celebrini. If he was in the bumper, the play ended at the bumper. If he was at the Ovechkin spot, the play ended there.
I do wonder how the Crosby injury affected the power play specifically there, because Reinhardt's all of a sudden at the bumper.
But Reinhardt's a great bumper. He's a good
right, but
he's not Crosby. But
what makes these 1-3-1 power, the really lethal 1-3-1s, are how dynamic, and this has been a new thing in the last few years, how dynamic the diamond almost rotates, very like willy-nilly, free will, like. And I think Crosby being the most cerebral guy on the team totally gets it when all of a sudden McDavid is at the half wall and he has to take that spot, and Celebrini,
right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's an extra level of like, yeah, look, Simon Reinhart scored 50 goals. He's back at number 2 in Selke voting. He's not a chump. He was the 13th forward today. He had one big goal in the semifinal. Other than that, his tournament was whatever, but he still scored. I think missing Crosby's understanding of like the flow in that 1-3-1 is what kind of messed them up. And at the end of the day, they still were 7 power play goals in this tournament. Like, it wasn't chump change, but
yeah, they were sick.
When you needed them most, then the 5-on-3 and then the power play late in the game, they couldn't convert.
Yeah, I just think you got so used to the Celebrini thing working, because you were playing lesser teams, and you had to spice things up a little bit against Team USA, and especially against Hellebuck.
On the
Team USA, I thought like on the rush stuff, just to get into that because you mentioned it earlier, they were very good at clogging the neutral zone, specifically funneling everything to the outside. It was very hard for Team Canada to sort of get in between the dots, I thought, and that was really smart. You had to slow down the rush speed of McDavid and Celebrini coming up the ice. Like, Canada had a lot of speedsters, but they were great at that. So you're right to say the cycling became that much more important.
Yeah.
Because the rush stuff was just being clogged almost entirely.
Yeah, I thought Canada did a lot better with zone entries today than they did against Czechia and Finland. Those teams were straight up just like trapping the whole time, especially when they had the leads.
Yeah.
Whereas USA was a little bit more on the front foot, kind of not necessarily.
Well, it was kind of a trap counter. It was don't get trapped because they're coming back the other way. They got a bunch of attacks because of that.
Okay, the defense. How'd they do? Cale Makar was the best player for Team Canada on the defensive end by a mile. Losing Morrissey, I've mentioned, like, it really showed issues with Doughty and Parayko getting too much ice time. I thought Sanheim was good in the semifinal and kind of whatever everywhere else. Who was their second best defenseman? If that's, one way to look at it.
I'm gonna go Harley.
Okay.
Not great.
Yeah.
But it just shows the chasm between Makar and everybody else. I think Taves is the easy answer, but he benefited so much, obviously, from being there with Makar. It's just an advantage to play with the guy that you've always played with and to play with the best player in the world defensively. But I don't know. Harley was asked to do too much, and he didn't sink. And everybody else wasn't really asked to do. I guess Parayko was asked to do too much. The giveaways early in the tournament were kind of driving me nuts. And the giveaways today as well, Makar was not, nobody was perfect.
No.
Is the thing. I think, especially in breakouts, that was kind of infuriating. But I don't know, man. I think Harley was asked to do more than he should have been. He didn't sink. I thought he was pretty good. And just looking, I'm curious actually, who got the most ice time?
After Cale Makar?
Yeah, after Makar. It's him.
It is, eh? Well, it was kind of by necessity that it needed to be Thomas Harley getting a lot because he was their only puck-moving guy.
Oh, well, yeah, it's Taves. Obviously, it's Taves because they were a tandem.
Yeah.
But he was the only other guy over 20 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, look, I will often mock some of these like stupid discussions, but there was one that was had on the TSN Overdrive show. So those are the radio guys right before the tournament started. It was one of those like there's too much time between games. We have to talk about stupidity, like dumb random topics. And the question was, other than Cale Makar's other than Makar and Doughty, how many Hall of Famers are there on this defenseman, the Team Canada's defense? And I'm like, wow, what a stupid thing for those guys to discuss. Of course, it's stuck in my head for the next week and a half because Doughty can put him to the side. The other guys, like you look at them at the end of the day, like
yeah,
they were okay. I think revisionist history, and you were more on the not Parayko stuff than I was. I was kind of, by the time we got to the tournament, I was way more worried about Parayko than I was when we were talking about the rosters. I don't think Drew Doughty had a good tournament at all. Now, I don't think they expected to use him this much. But that's what happened with the Morrissey injury.
So, man, maybe we didn't harp on this enough early, but a lot of people that were saying like, whatever, just bring this guy. He's not going to see the ice. For the goalies, that ended up being the truth, which maybe it shouldn't have been. But for the defensemen and forwards, of course you're going to need everybody.
You will. This is a lesson learned.
Of course you will.
Yeah.
I won't make you go back in and edit this. I was about to say the F word, Jordan, because I'm livid. It should be a lesson learned.
Yeah.
But we'll see if they learn it.
Yeah. The lesson we've learned is you need all 22 skaters. Every single roster spot does matter. Again, the third goalie, probably not. But your 14 forwards, your 8 defensemen, we learned it. Like guys are going to get hurt. Also international ice hockey. Now the 28 World Cup, I'm going to guess they're going to go NHL rules. So it means they're only going to dress 12 and 6. Not 13 and 7 that the IIHF lets you do. But yeah, every single roster spot mattered. I thought it was also kind of dumb that Canada wasn't allowed to bring in another player. The fact that Morrissey, like, I think clearly Morrissey couldn't make it, was not going to make it back. That they were not allowed to say, hey, we've pre-selected these 4 players. They've entered the testing pool in X, Y, and Z. And if someone gets hurt in the tournament, we reserve the right to completely remove that guy and bring someone else in. The fact that because Morrissey had played, Canada was not able to bring in another player, I thought was kind of dumb. That we were immediately we weren't able to call over Matthew Schaefer or Noah Dobson or Evan Bouchard. Yeah. That I find that kind of stupid.
I mean, maybe it's not. I don't know. It's when you look at other events, I think they're all like that. Someone gets hurt in an event, you're not allowed to just call up, another skier from home and bring them out. I don't think that that's the way that the Olympics in general work. So we might be wishing for too much. It would have been nice if they could have, but yeah, on D especially, there were just not that many great options. I'm more upset on forward.
Okay.
The few guys that were brought that maybe shouldn't have been. I say few guys. Marchand's really the only obvious one because when Bennett got in, even that one I understood. I understood the why of it. He didn't have a good tournament. There's another world in which he did. Mm-hmm. I don't think there's a world in which Marchand would have had a good tournament here.
Yeah. Anything else on the Cooper side, on the Team Canada side, before we start zooming out a bit to the rest of the tournament?
Underutilizing Nick was big. Not going to Thompson, we could discuss that. I don't know. I think that might be it here.
Yeah. Again, at the end of the day, I thought like the group stage went about as perfectly as you could have hoped for, other than the injuries. And I'm including McKinnon in there. Quarters and semis was kind of like part 2 of the tournament. And that to me really started to show the weakness of, or like the fragility of the team if Binnington is not on top of it. And he wasn't in those 2 games. I don't think you can argue against that. He wasn't very good to start those games. He progressively got better, and they brought this up in the broadcast, like, oh, Jordan Binnington always seems to play his best when he can't give up another goal. How about you just don't? How about like we just say like,
yeah,
it's very much a like procrastinator energy from Jordan Binnington in this whole tournament.
Right.
So
they kind of brought Montembeault in a way.
Yeah, I know. You know what's funny?
The guy who gives up the first goal. They should have just brought him. It would have been the same thing.
We always go from like at these like big tournaments. I'm like, wow, I got so used to watching so-and-so, like Sidney Crosby. Now I have to go back to watching David Desharnais or something. first of all, we went from watching Nick Suzuki to watching Nick Suzuki, so that'll be fun. But the other part is like, oh, good, we went from Jordan Binnington. Now we have to go back to Sam. Oh, okay, the goaltending's still bad. Like,
yeah, Dobesh though.
Dobesh. Yeah, it's true. He got 2 weeks.
Oh, this feels. I'm grabbing my bear again. This feels good, buddy.
Okay,
this feels good.
There we go.
We could talk about the Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah. Okay. Whatever.
Now let's get into some other tournament stuff. I'm sick of talking about John Cooper, about the loss. Congrats on silver. It's still cool.
Okay, so to me, tournament wide. First of all, I will say Canada and USA basically played 2 different tournaments. They beat Sweden, Slovakia, Germany, Latvia, Denmark. We beat Finland, Czechia, Switzerland, France. We literally did not overlap once in who we played.
Wow.
Lucky for the Italians, they played neither of us. We beat 4 other teams, Czechia twice. They beat the 5 other teams, and then we met each other, went to an overtime. It's kind of funny how it's very much like it was a sense of inevitability. Even in the quarters, when both teams went to OT, it was still like, that's going to happen. But it's Group B, right? Group B, it's amazing how much the chaos of that group kind of flipped what we maybe had everyone kind of predicted immediately, right? The whole Sweden ends up finishing 3rd and Slovakia gets 1st and Finland gets 2nd because of these weird tiebreakers. And Sweden had a weird tournament. Pulling their goalie down 3-1 against Finland to give up an empty net goal might have been one of the biggest overtime goals of the entire tournament. It was definitely the biggest goal, I think, of the group stage, because that goal directly impacted the seeding and the trickle down effect. So let's go with that. Let's go with Sweden. Did Sweden have the most disappointing tournament?
I mean, considering that's the 3rd ranked team coming into this, and that when we talked about it, at least they were in the tier with Canada, USA, maybe slightly below. But yes, I think unquestionably they had the most disappointing tournament.
It's tough, right? Because
the final 4 were 3 of the 4, and they were not one of them.
Yeah, that's the seeding, right? That's the Group B chaos that Slovakia, which we're definitely going to get into, took part in.
Sure, but you shouldn't have let Slovakia overtake you. You shouldn't have let Juraj Slafkovsky with his humongous back grab Slovakia and go, here we go, let's get into the top 4.
That was the weirdest game of the tournament because, and Slafa said it himself, like they cut the lead from 5-2 to 5-3 and they're celebrating like they've won.
Yes.
Like, no, you've been thoroughly outplayed in this game. You just got I think it was a power play goal late in the game, and that wins them the group. So like, credit to them. The whole goal differential stuff, I hated it. We need to figure out a better format because like Finland absolutely annihilating Italy because they're like goal differential, which got them 4th, got them the bye.
Yeah. It sucks.
Yeah.
It sucks. I've seen the same thing in softball tournaments. There's 8 teams in the tournament, let's say, and the bottom 2 are really bad. And the way out of the group stage and for seeding, you have to just destroy these people. You have to win 20-0 and feel good about yourselves. And that's what kind of happens in this tournament here.
Yeah.
It sucks, I think, for France. It sucks for Italy. Actually, scratch that. I don't think it sucks for Italy because they got in because they're hosting. And so I think they were just sort of happy to be there. That was cool.
Sure.
Clara really impressed me in net. So that was pretty cool. But it still sucks for those teams, the format wise. So how else would you do it though? Just, we haven't prepared for this, but any ideas?
I think you go back to the old juniors format, which they've also abandoned, of 2 5-team groups. You play everybody once, so that's 4 games. First place, bye to the semifinal. 2nd and 3rd in the quarterfinals, 4th and 5th eliminated. So you're getting rid of 2 teams. You're only doing 10.
Right. Okay.
I do want to get into this, like the bottom 4 teams of this tournament went 1-13 versus non-top 8 teams. The only win being against that number 8 team, which is I think it was Latvia beating Germany. Sorry. That's the only win that any of Denmark, Latvia, Italy, France got that wasn't against each other. So the drop off from that, like they were just cannon fodder. They were just extra games on the schedule that no one needed to see. Back to Sweden, because I know I've made us go all around the world.
Yep.
Sweden has the exact same outcome as Canada. You go down 1-0. Now their tying goal was way more dramatic and way later, but they go down 1-0. The US, by the way, they built their team to win these games and they won both of them. They had 2 tough games in this tournament. They had the biggest freaking cakewalk, like we said, in Group C. Group C was terrible, and I want to get to Germany. They got Slovakia completely ran out of gas in the semifinal. They annihilated them. They had 2 tough games. They beat Sweden. They beat Canada. Credit to them. They go up 1-0. They don't do too much offensively. They give up a goal. They win it in overtime. So yeah, Sweden had, in terms of outcome, they lost in the quarterfinal, which for a country like Sweden should be unacceptable. But you go back and you look at it, right? You beat Slovakia. You beat Italy. You lose to Finland. That's a screw up. And then because of the way things break down, you're playing the US, you go to overtime with the US, it's a coin flip, they won it. So I think, again, history will tell us Sweden lost in the quarterfinal, and that was a big screw up. They were 3rd in the group. Personally, in terms of on the ice, who was the most disappointing team? To me, it was Germany. They are supposed to be with Switzerland and Czechia, and they were in a cakewalk of a group. They lost the game to Latvia. They barely beat Denmark. They lose not close to the United States. They play France. They beat France. The only teams they beat were France and Denmark.
Okay.
And then they get destroyed by, that's Slovakia in the quarterfinal.
Yeah, Germany has a very glass cannon type of team where they have immense firepower. Like, that top line is insane. The top few players they have are sick. And then their lack of depth really killed them. What we were talking about Canada and USA having, just that tremendous depth, and that being the reason that those two teams, you were talking about the waves of attack Team Canada had, like, both of these teams had skill in spades, whereas Finland, Sweden, they had to bring bottom 6 NHLers for a lot of their lineup. And then Germany had to bring mostly non-NHLers, and mostly not even at the level of, like, say, the Swedish league or the Finnish league. Like, those other teams were chock full of players who were a couple tiers below the NHL. I think Germany had a bunch who were like more than 2-3 tiers below.
Yeah. Tough tournament for them. I do want to talk about Finland briefly. The most wild, like, wacky tournament you could have. The fluctuations as a fandom that nation must have had in these games. Let's walk through it. I think it's the first game of the tournament. They play, it's the big upset. It's the first domino that causes all this chaos in Group B. They lose 4-1 to Slovakia. Go Slav.
Hell yeah.
Okay. Next game, arch rivals, they thoroughly outplay Sweden. Okay, we're so back. All right. Third game of the group stage, a homicide. 11-0 against Italy, sorry.
Yeah.
What's going on? Okay, they're so good they make it directly to quarterfinal. Switzerland, down 2-0, fully dead in the water. And then they get a couple big goals. Sebastian Aho scores. I think he gets the tying goal before Arturi Lehkonen, of course, obviously, has the overtime goal to send them in. All right, we're so back. We came down from 2-0. We're going to the semifinal against Canada.
Right.
These guys, semifinal. They go up 2-0. Literally the inverse happens.
Right.
I've talked about it. They get annihilated by Canada in the second and third. McKinnon, massive goal. We haven't really talked about, like, the big goals for Canada in this tournament. The Suzuki one is huge. Like,
unreal.
The amount of
the battle he has prior to that goal,
it's the shift,
it's the whole shift. It was at the end of his shift, and he used all of the strength that he had left to win that battle, get the puck out, get to a scoring position, put it in the net. Like,
again, it just
Captain Clutch.
It's really too bad they didn't win the tournament, because you have the Suzuki tying goal, the Marner overtime winner, and then you have the McKinnon goal to take out Finland with 30 seconds left.
Yeah.
And also, like, if they had called that offside, I would have just rage quit everything. I'm done with these offside things. I've talked about them before. Like, I'm very over offside reviews. I think you need to challenge it within 15 seconds in real time. I don't think you should be allowed what is ultimately about 2.5 minutes here of real time to say, actually, we are going to challenge that. There's like 50 seconds of ice time or gameplay. Canada scores, celebrates, okay, we get ready for the face-off, boom, challenge. It's like 2.5 minutes to review. No. If you think it was offside, you have 15 seconds to say, okay, we're going to challenge that if a goal goes in. It's annoying. Anyways, Finland.
Yeah.
They blow that game. What happens? They go to the bronze medal match in like a movie. You're facing your demons from the beginning, and they annihilate the crap out of Slovakia. Finland must have gone through all the emotions in this tournament. From we suck to we're great to we're amazing to we suck to we're great. Yep. Oh my God, what's up? Oh, we're bronze again. That was Finland's
definitely heart palpitations in Sweden happening during this tournament. At least they won their last game, Jordan.
Yeah. Can't say the same for Slav. So let's do the Slav stuff, and then we can start looking a little bit more out.
I still think we should have done the whole episode about Slav, but that's okay.
So let's
be in a better
let's
mood.
do this. I told you not to look before we started. The media all-star team has come out. 3 forwards, 2 defensemen, and a goalie. Brian, I said you can go 6 for 6 here. Like, if you get even one wrong, I will be disappointed. The 3 best forwards, the 2 best defensemen, and the best goalie of the tournament.
Yeah.
Go.
So it's Celebrini.
Yep.
McDavid.
Yep.
It's Makar.
Yep.
It's Slafkovsky.
Yep.
It's Hellebuck.
Yep.
Obviously.
One more defenseman.
And Werenski.
Oh, so close. No. One spot over.
Hughes.
Quinn Hughes.
Yeah.
Also, top forward of the tournament, Connor McDavid, top defenseman. Quinn Hughes, top goalie, Connor Hellebuck. MVP, sadly.
So even Hughes even got defenseman of the tournament over Makar.
Yes, he did. I think it's purely for that overtime goal. Like that overtime where he plays like 3 straight minutes. McDavid wins MVP, by the way. So twice now McDavid has won between the Conn Smythe and the MVP of this Olympic tournament and not won the actual team trophy.
And he so doesn't give a shit about that. Yeah. He doesn't care about those accolades. And
I put this out on Blue Sky. At least he has the 4 Nations goal. So he can avoid the like can't win the big game bullshit. Like at least like look, he's lost a game 7 Stanley Cup final. He lost last year as well. They've lost this now. At least McDavid has a 4 Nations overtime game winning goal. And hopefully the legacy of the 4 Nation doesn't go the way of the 2016 World Cup where like no one really remembers what happened in that tournament. But at least he has that and he avoids going into like the Harry Kane Tottenham zone where it's like you're amazing, but you literally win nothing as a team. So he doesn't have that.
Yes. I think him and Carey Price were made for each other.
Yeah.
At least from an NHL perspective, Carey Price never got a player like that. McDavid's never had a goalie like that. We see it once again with Bennington, who is just decent.
Yeah. Okay.
I feel for him. Interesting that he got the C after Crosby went out.
Is it? Who else would you have given it to? Brad Marchand?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely, Brad Marchand. Either he or Bennington, I think would have been great.
Yeah, 2 C's actually on Marchand. He's like a captain's captain.
He's a captain's captain. Ugh.
But seriously, like honestly, because so he was an alternate along with Makar, and then
no, I think it's right. It could have been Makar. I think McKinnon having a letter, which like, is he too serious? Like, isn't that what you want in at least one of your? He got the letter guys.
This has been a bit of a running joke of like, why is McKinnon not the second alternate and it's Makar? I think it's very much like Sid is captain, and then it's one defenseman. It goes to Kale, and then there's one A left, and it's gonna have to go to McDavid because the idea is gonna be McDavid's the next captain.
Yeah.
So it's fine.
It's whatever. I guess it makes sense.
Okay.
There's probably an ice time component too.
Slafkovsky, amazing tournament. It's the team ran out of gas. They had nothing. Dvorsky and Slafkovsky never being paired together was moronic. There was a lot of dumb coaching decisions. I know we were tough on Cooper there. He was still in the upper half of quality coaches in this tournament because the dumb stuff going on in Sweden, like not choosing to use some of their best players like Jesper Bratt until they very much had to. Same goes with Philip Forsberg. Being like, no, he doesn't really fit. Healthy scratch or, play him 1 minute. And then when they were chasing goals against the U.S., it was, look who's on the ice, and it's Jesper Bratt and it's Philip Forsberg.
Yeah.
Slav and Dvorsky never being put together is just like, these guys are the future of your program. How about you put them together in a semifinal or a bronze medal match at least?
It would have been wise, at the very least in moments. If you don't want to pair them together all the time because then you have less of a functioning second line, I get that. But at least in moments, at the very, very least. That's a very good point. Dvorsky was great. Mm-hmm. Grant McCagg rejoices. He was very, very, very good. Slafkovsky was better. What an honor being one of the 6.
It's a little bit one of these names is not like the other, but not in terms of like status, right?
Current status.
Of course, that's what I'm saying. In terms of current status, you have the 2 best defensemen alive. You have the best forward. He had a better tournament than McKinnon. This is another twice now we've looked at McKinnon, McDavid side to side, and Lord knows McKinnon probably has a bum leg and norovirus, and he still had the game-winning goal against Sweden, against Finland. You have Connor Hellebuck, who has been the best regular season goaltender in the world, and then McDavid-Celebrini, who is shot out of a cannon in this tournament and is very much the next one, and then Slav, our boy.
Yeah, it's not weird though, Jordan. It's an incredible goaltender. It's 2 defensemen who are drafted 4 and 7, who are unbelievably offensively gifted, and then it's 3 first overall picks. What's weird about this? Slav is just becoming the unicorn of our dreams.
I hope he's ready to annihilate the league in these last 25 games. Because we haven't talked.
Yes, exactly right.
Let's do that quickly, and then I do want to look forward a bit to 2028, and then we can wrap it up. Oliver Kapanen looked awesome when he finally got some freaking ice time in the bronze medal match. Again, it's just these idiot coaches being like,
yeah,
how can I not play Oliver Kapanen? He looked awesome on that line with Aho. I think he picked up an assist on one of the goals.
Yeah, he hit a bunch of posts too, which
Yes.
maybe if he had been in more games,
You know.
his aim would have been a little better.
So he was great. Suzuki gets a silver medal. Kapanen gets the bronze. Slaf's fourth. Let's focus more on Suzuki and Slaf because those are the more important guys going forward here. And in terms of the guys who had like the most going on at this tournament, what
most impact? Yeah.
What are we seeing with the going forward with these two guys? Like, are they going to come back a bit tired? Do you give them an extra game off on I think it's Thursday against the Islanders? Or do you think these guys are going to come back like they're set on fire? Like Nick played 9 minutes, 10 minutes a game, scored one of the biggest goals of the Olympics.
Nick's fine. He's still got something of a vacation, the amount of ice time compared to what he usually does in terms of responsibilities, in terms of weight on his shoulders. And then Slafkovsky's so young and he's going to be absolutely fired up. Also, Nick Suzuki, you can't take him out because of the Ironman thing.
Sure.
He there's no way he would ever allow for that. And Slafkovsky I don't think should be out either. Lesser Ironman, but 82 games last season. And as a guy who I think showed he has all the energy in the world and then some. Like you were talking about Slovakia slowing down. He was still running around like a dog late in third periods in this tournament when everybody else was dead tired because they're playing teams that just ran them into the ground. But Slav was not run into the ground that way. So incredibly bright futures for both of them. I'm very curious to see if that includes the Olympics for Suzuki moving forward and in what capacity.
Yeah.
Because if it's John Cooper running the show, I don't trust him to realize that Suzuki needs to be played at center and it's actually what's best for the team.
Yeah, okay.
And maybe in 4 years, he'll be more prime, quote unquote, and more established. He'll have several point per game seasons under his belt. But
okay, so
I don't know. It should have been apparent sooner.
Let's get into that. Let's not even look 4 years ahead of time. If the NHL is to be believed, and they've been pretty serious about this, there's going to be, instead of an All-Star game in 2 years, the World Cup of Hockey returns. 2028 World Cup of Hockey. It's supposed to take place in February, so it's very much 2 years from right now. That is the next best-on-best tournament that we're expecting. Now, what we don't know is the format. And I'm a little worried that because this is an NHL event, not a IIHF event, we might get another gimmicky thing where you get a Team Europe, which I would really rather not have. I also don't know if the NHL would say, Russia, you're allowed again, and how that would work, because it's not a IIHF event. But point is, you're going to get Canada, USA, Sweden, Finland. I think there's going to be enough guys to cobble together. I would hope a Czechia team. But we'll see. It's going to be awkward how they're able to pull that together. And if it's really just going to be NHL and AHL guys, maybe some NCAA players, I don't know. Like, how do you legitimize this tournament when leagues in Europe are still going to be going on and be getting pretty close to playoff time? But regardless, there will be a Team Canada best on best involved tournament in 2 years' time. My point of view, my opinion, what I hope is that Hockey Canada is going to treat 2028 like a transitionary tournament, looking forward to the next Olympics in 2030. Does that mean you take a step back? Maybe. If anything, it means you're taking a few chances. I think the team has to get younger because they're right on the precipice, and you could argue some roster spots are already too old. So what I wanted to ask, Brian, so goalies aside, and we can get into the goalies if you want, it's just a depressing conversation, and it's 2 years from now.
Yeah, 2 years is not enough time for a new one.
How many roster changes would you expect? So if you have the 16 forwards, you have the 14 from this tournament, and then throw Point and Cirelli in there because they were basically named. Who's like, as of right now, you're gone. You already mentioned Brad Marchand. I totally agree. He's aged. Yeah. He was quite frankly aged out. Who else is kind of like definitely scratching them off and will get new blood in?
Bennett's gone.
It's not an age thing with Bennett though.
No, it's a wear and tear and outskilled, outclassed thing with Bennett.
Okay. What about Mark Stone?
I think when he can terrorize people in the playoffs and be a goon, he's better. You can't do that in IIHF. Mark Stone's another one. I think Tom Wilson is another one.
What do you think of his tournament?
He was mean. He did what he was supposed to do. He was mean.
Was it effective? Like he did what?
No.
Like yeah, it
wasn't really. I mean, the part that was lacking from his game, like the 30 goal scorer element, because that's what everybody was saying. Like, yes, he's a bruiser. Yes, he's mean. He's going to hit everybody, but he's also a 30 goal scorer, and we didn't see much of that. I think one goal, if I remember correct. So it didn't matter. There were more talented players that you could have brought.
Like honestly, flip Tom Wilson out for Zach Hyman on that top line. So you have Celebrini on one side.
Fascinating.
And you have the built-in chemistry with Hyman on the other side.
And that facilitates your ability to make that elite talent more distributed among the top 6 and then the top 9, and it all cascades down.
Okay. We can go down, right? Like Reinhardt. So here's the thing. McKinnon, McDavid, Celebrini, they're locks. They're in there. They're everything. I thought Bo Horvat had a really good tournament. He should be back. I thought Nick Suzuki, in the time he was given, had a good tournament. I would like for him to be back. Same goes for Mitch Marner. Seth Jarvis, like there's just, I don't really know if they found the spot for Jarvis. They seem to like him. But like Marchand's too old, Stone's too old, and we have to talk about Crosby. 2 years from now, Crosby doesn't have a contract. He'll be 40, closing in on 41.
Yeah. Third line center for the Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah. He might be retired. It's not out of the...
At least I hope not. I mean, I hope he never retires. The 4 years away Olympics, I'm unsure of for Crosby.
No. That's
no. But the 2 years from now tournament, if he's your fourth line guy taking faceoffs and he's responsible and he can still come in on the power play and be the smartest guy out there, as you were describing before, how do you like you're talking loyalty? Who is a better? I was about to say Montreal Canadian. Who is a better Team Canada hockey player? Not talking women because it's probably Marie-Philippe Poulin, but anyway, for the men's, who deserves that loyalty more than Sidney Crosby? I don't think that person exists. Historically, maybe, but like current, like if you're going to be loyal to any one guy, it's him. Unless he says, I'm too old, take someone younger. You know, how am I there and this guy's not? If he says that, fair enough. But I think if he's raring to go, you go with Sid the Kid.
Here's the younger guys. Here's the next crop. Wyatt Johnson, Connor Bedard, we think we're very much on the cutting room floor of this tournament.
Man,
I think with
those two instead of Marchand, Bennett is amazing.
But I
respect them bringing Jarvis.
Yeah, but I don't think
because they did think he was the next.
Cooper wanted to coach that type of team. Like in reality, Horvat should be that.
Then John Cooper. Yeah. You don't want to coach the skilled, amazing players.
I think he wanted a
get out of the chair.
Like, okay, so look, part of it is not totally on him because Cirelli gets hurt, and it would have been Cirelli and Horvat as his third and fourth center. That's clearly what he wanted. Cirelli gets hurt, he has to take him out, and what we eventually end up getting, because again, McKinnon starts as a second line center, Crosby as a third line center, but that Crosby line basically was a second line the whole time. It became Horvat, Bennett as your third and fourth line centers. I think he wanted those guys as your bottom 6, not a Wyatt Johnson at center situation. Bedard would have been a winger. We all know that. It's tough. Will Cooley, Dylan Guenther.
Is part of that him not trusting the goaltending enough, despite what he says? Him not trusting the defense enough?
Of course.
Because,
that's a great point. You're right, because Colton Parayko gets a lot of ice time. Drew Doughty gets a lot of ice time. Sam Bennett.
Too much.
A lot of ice time.
Too much.
And a lot of that is like, I need to I think you've hit the nail on the head.
It's a little bit control freakish of like, I can't trust what's going to happen with Wyatt Johnson on the ice because it's going to be an incredible play. Whether it's in their net or ours, it's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
He'd rather the safe lose 2-1 to the Americans in the final type team.
I think maybe a Wilson replacement is Will Cooley going forward. I think Dylan Guenther also steps into the equation.
Sure.
And if you want to go way younger, you go Adam Fantilli, Beckett Seneca. Let's see where they are at in 2 years.
So if that's an option, if they're worthy of it, that I could see as being a reason for Crosby to hand off the torch, so to speak. If they're really like, if the whole idea of in 2 years is go younger so that the Olympics in 2030, and honestly, that might be the best idea we've had this whole episode, is that's the way you do it, is you rebuild, so to speak.
Yeah.
2028,
transition.
You start, because if you transition in 2030 and those guys aren't ready, Celebrini was ready.
Yeah.
Thank goodness. They're not all going to be Celebrinis who come in and dominate the entire tournament. But
it's a transition. It's a test run. 28 should be viewed as a test run. You bring Bedard on board. You bring Will Cooley. You bring Wyatt Johnson. You say, thank you, Mark Stone, for your service. You're now 35. It was already pushing it at 33.
Yeah.
Brad Marchand, get out of here. Sam Bennett, you were borderline already. Maybe Braden Point bounces back, but like there needs to be some
Matthew
new blood.
Schaefer.
Okay, let's do that.
Welcome.
Let's do them.
Welcome, Matthew Schaefer.
Defenseman.
Can he replace 4 different aged out guys for the next tournament? Can we have 4 of him?
Parayko, Doughty. Easy.
Gone.
Okay. I think McCart Taves are probably still safe. Oh,
Really?
Sorry, Makar safe. Taves is also that's a stupid statement.
So Taves is still. I don't know about that one, but okay.
I think as long as they're playing together and they're still like good enough, I think Taves still has that spot, and it worked that they gave up
Things
a bad
change
goal.
in hockey so fast, man. So fast. I don't know. 33-year-old Taves. Maybe they've acquired somebody who's better. Shea Theodore.
Yeah,
it's 32, still in the window.
Yeah, Morrissey too. I think is still in the window, like not throwing him out right away. Same goes for Sanheim, who I just didn't love the tournament again, other than the semi against Finland, where I thought he was pretty good. Didn't see enough there. Thomas Harley, over reliance on him, so I think
it's not his fault.
I think
it's not his fault. He was put in a difficult position.
So I think it's truthfully Makar's 100% in, Parayko, Doughty are 100% out, and I think the other 5 guys are like you're with the rest. You have to earn your spot.
Yeah.
And that spot.
Everybody talks about the lack of eliteness in net for Canada. There's not enough discourse about the lack of eliteness on defense.
We have Matthew Schaefer coming in. Makar and Schaefer.
So that's 2 guys.
Okay, let me throw some more at you. We have to talk about Mr. Noah Dobson.
Please, cheer me up.
Noah Dobson. Probably should have been on this team. 25, 26, will be 28, completely in his prime. Throw him on a second or third pairing, and I think you're going to see, we've seen it this year with Noah Dobson, that he's not playing 25 minutes a night. He's not first wave power play. He's not even first wave penalty kill anymore. And he's playing 22 minutes a night. It's a bit more contained, and he's been incredibly consistent. And he's been a really good producer at 5-on-5, and he's done his job really, really well. He's a right-handed
He's a perfect
defenseman.
all-rounder.
Yeah, he's become way more, like, he was becoming this, but he's been, because of maybe we're focusing less on his power play production, but he is doing a lot more in the other parts of his game to be like, yes, I am a well-rounded 23 minutes a night, 22 minutes a night defenseman. I'm not going to hit that high level, but you can't tell me right now Noah Dobson's not better than Drew Doughty and Colin Parayko.
Of course he is.
Okay.
That's obvious.
So those are the
and
two,
in 2 years it'll be even
those
more
are the two easy changes, obvious. Right? All things
still not elite though.
Progressing.
So like Dobson, love him. If we were to call him elite, like similar to Makar, Schaefer, then we're being dishonest homers.
But is he not on the same level as like Jake Sanderson?
I think he has the potential to be much better than Sanderson.
Okay. What's Lavin?
So he is he starting a new tier of defensemen then in 2 years? Like, is that the idea here? Is that like Schaefer, Makar at the top, and then revolving door?
Okay, well, let's go with the revolving door. Carter Yakimchuk, Zane Parik, Olin Zellweger, Owen Power. There's guys. There's a lot of new.
Owen Power is interesting. We are also embarking on a similar. Yeah, young blood is what we've got. That's true. We're embarking on a similar path as the Americans with a lot of offensive guys.
It was missing,
which is interesting. It was missing, but like, I don't know, man. I like relying on a beast at the back, what Doughty used to be,
Yeah, look, again, this team at one point had Drew Doughty, Shea Weber, and Carey Price.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not there now.
I missed that.
So I think there's look, as Evan Bouchard deserves to be brought up as well in terms of like 2 years from now, he's definitely going to be in consideration.
Sure.
But yeah, I think what needs to happen is, look, the turnover for forwards and defensemen of the 24 guys was 4. 4 out of 24 flipped over from 25 to 26. I think you need to be looking at least a third of the team flipping over, if not more, into 28. Wow. And this is a new look, and we need to change it up a little bit. And there's guys we haven't mentioned yet that I'm sure will be there. It's a real damn shame Caden Gooley isn't becoming the guy we all thought he could be, because I think there's a spot on the roster for him if he had, but he's not. So he does not deserve to be part of the conversation.
No.
There's guys. I mentioned, like, I think Yakimchuk is a really good one to keep an eye on going forward and see how he keeps progressing. I'm sure he'll crack the Senators lineup fully next year.
Yeah.
And it's, again, I think they need to do that. I think 28 needs to be the year, and that maybe takes a bit of pressure off.
It is kind of neat, too, to have him and Parekh be on Canadian teams and then be for Team Canada. That's always compelling to me.
Yeah. We'll see. I mean, some people might throw Michael Hage in there. I think let the guy play an NHL season, but I know some people are probably yelling at us right now through their headphones.
Yeah. I mean, hard to ignore his talent.
Take a beat.
Absolutely. Take a beat. Yeah. Give him some time. That's weird, though. That's, Jordan, I got to say, that's like beyond out of the ordinary. Overhyping a Habs prospect way too early in their life.
I've seen it. Once or twice.
You've seen it?
Once or twice. Not often.
Really? Okay. Well, your memory's better than mine, I guess.
Would be remiss if we didn't say Gavin McKenna's name. because he would be.
Oh yeah, of course.
He would be basically Celebrini's age right now, I believe.
Oh, okay, interesting.
If he were to make it, there's so much more skill. It depends if Cooper is still the coach, which he might not be. How does John Cooper like his bottom six? I think we got a real good insight into what he likes out of his bottom six. He likes a vet bottom six that can still produce offensively. And he clearly wanted McDavid, McKinnon as the top two centers and then go crazy on the wings. And then in the bottom six was like he put Suzuki in the top six. We forget this part. It was the wrong decision. He needed to be a center in the bottom six. And then his bottom six, he wanted Hagel, he wanted Bennett and Brad Marchand. And I mean, Seth Jarvis was a 14th guy, so he wasn't really in there, but he eventually came in. But that's what he clearly wanted. It'll be interesting to see if Cooper changes that, because I think that was a miscalculation. And if he adapts that going forward, and if Hockey Canada and the Brain Trust adjust their roster decision-making accordingly for 2 years from now.
Is it Cooper in 2 years?
Who else? Marty?
Martin St. Louis, buddy.
Yeah.
Maybe one day. I kid, but maybe one day.
I don't think so. I think as long as Cooper wants to do it, he's going to do it.
You know what, dude? What is Marty better than Cooper at? Is developing a young team. 2028 tournament of hockey.
So
if they go this youth route,
I really hope this is never going to happen, but I really wish Hockey Canada and the players would get more serious about this being a proper commitment, and that they say, listen, 2027 World Championships, if your team is not playing and you're healthy, you're coming over to play in the World Championships. I think we had 5 guys from last year's World Championships be on this team. Like you need to have like a third or half of them, or even the guys in the mix, in the surrounding pool, the Dobsons, the Mathesons, the Will Cooleys, like these guys who might not make the playoffs. Quentin Byfield, we didn't mention, but like come over, like be part of this pool of like 50 players every World Championships. Hockey Canada should host some type of summer summit every year with like 40, 50 guys. They don't have to skate. Be together, talk about hockey, and be more consistent about like, what is the team? They need that chemistry. The chemistry wasn't there. That falls on Cooper a bit, but it falls on the organization of Hockey Canada, and how like create a new advantage. Get these guys together more often, because look how much we have to rely on Theodore Pietrangelo and Makar Taves. I know Pietrangelo didn't play. That was a plan, but that was a plan last year to have guys who already played together. And that was one of the biggest challenges. So important. So I would really, and you're never going to get it perfectly, because a lot of we're expecting Connor McDavid to be deep in the playoffs. We're expecting Nick Suzuki, hopefully, to make a deep playoff run. Jordan Binnington can just go to Cuba. I don't care. But like other guys, you expect them to have, like, if they're out in the first round or out in the like Robert Thomas is another good one. Like, you're not going to make the playoffs. Go to the World Championships. Be there. Spend time with them. We had Celebrini and McKinnon and Crosby there last year. I think Jordan Binnington was there last year. Like, get these guys together, get a little momentum, know each other.
Yeah.
That
would be huge. That's an advantage. And so in terms of a short-term solution, I think that's excellent. Yeah. Like get chemistry now while you still can. Long term, you have to look at the way that the juniors operates, the training program that the United States have for their players who are not yet professional is phenomenal. It should be the benchmark. And Canada is they've already taken too long to adapt, and it's starting to become egregious that there's no dynamicism in the way that Team Canada operates in terms of gaining chemistry through the years. There is something to playing with somebody when you're in your developmental years, just in terms of psychology. It generally, the music that you like, just as an analogy, the music that you like when you're like between 13 and 18, something like that, while your brain is really developing and firing on all cylinders, that's the music you like for the rest of your life, plus or minus 10, 15%. It works with relationships, with the way that you bond with people, your friends, all types of stuff. So if you develop with these other guys, I think that would be wholly beneficial. Yeah. And the Americans get it right. And all those other countries you mentioned before, they play together every single year, even if it's not all year. Getting together for a couple weeks worth of hockey, I think is paramount. At the very least, maybe the stars who know they're going to be there for the next 15 years. Celebrini, give Fantilli a call and get on the ice together, please.
There's nothing wrong with copying someone else's homework here. I think we've kind of talked around it. What Canada needs to do, what the CHL needs to allow and not get big egos about it, is identify a U17 and a U18 squad, and then eventually a U20 squad, and say, okay, our U17s are playing in the OHL. We're going to base them out of Toronto. That's it. We're going to cobble together who we think are the best guys for this age group. They're going to play half their game. They're going to play a 35 game season in the OHL. And then they're going to go off to the U17 Worlds. And we're going to do the exact same thing with the U18s. They're going to play 35 games in the OHL. Or they're going to base them in Calgary or Vancouver. I don't care where they put them. Probably Vancouver, Toronto. Split them up. One WHL team, one OHL team, and flip them, whatever.
Yep.
And then the U18s, by the way, this is literally what the US does. This is also very similar to what Sweden does. You get them together and they play the U18s at the end of the year, and that's their season. They play 35, 40 games. You focus on development. You focus on get those guys playing together. When the Canadian, we were watching the Finland game, the semifinal, they were showing literal images of the 2014 World Juniors teams and the 2026 team. And they're like, wow, 7 guys are the same players from that tournament. Right. It's like, yeah, like they played together. Canada needs to do this. We need to get our heads out of our asses on like, oh no, the Kitchener Rangers are going to be upset, or the Guelph Storm aren't going to be happy, or the Charlottetown whatevers, or the Islanders, like they're not going to be happy about like losing some players. Too freaking bad. The CHL is supposed to be about player development. And this NCAA stuff that's been happening has been a first big drain. Your retort is this. It's a U17 and a U18 team. I don't know. Maybe at that point you do have a U20. That's a World Juniors team essentially. And that's the team you bring to the World Juniors. So your World Juniors aren't just like a mishmash of nothingness that you throw together for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And this is where you start the chemistry. This is where it all forms. Like you said, 16 to 18 to 19 years old, you'll have had 2 seasons of Celebrini and Fantilli playing together. It's like, cool.
Yeah, that's really cool. What a waste of time, though, the last few minutes have been for you and I, because they're never going to do this.
No, never.
They're like Bettman the way that they're set in their ways. Like it really feels sometimes like you're skiing down a hill and these 2 like foot deep trenches for your skis are there, and you can't veer out of that way of thinking because it's worked for so long. But guess what? The Americans have way more population than we do. They have way more NHL teams, which are inspiring youth. We no longer have the best players at every position anymore. You know, we have the few best forwards. We have the best defensemen. We don't have anything close to the best goaltender anymore. Things are changing. So at the very least, your programs and your systems have to be set up for success.
Yeah.
So like just population-wise, interest-wise, all these ways, these other countries, USA especially, that have more people playing hockey, it's going to get hard eventually.
Yeah. And you know what? Like, this is completely off the side. And I don't want to spur 20 more minutes of conversation because I want to bring up one other thing and then we can wrap.
Okay. Yeah.
We always talk about like, oh, the NHL wants to grow the game in the US. That's why they want to go to Houston. That's why they want to go to Phoenix. That's why they want to go to Atlanta. There is no Quebecers on this team. None of them deserve to be on this team.
Yeah.
PLD is probably the best Quebec-born player in the NHL right now. That's an indictment. He was fine last season.
Should have been Lafrenière. That should have been the name.
Why is this not brought up as the thing when Quebec City is brought up as an expansion team? Why are we only allowed to say this when it's like, oh, Houston, good for growing the market and hockey in the South? Why don't we talk about this with Quebec City?
We're wrong though. I said it before. Bennington. Damn, I ruined that joke. Oh, Brian, your timing sucks. Montembeault was there. We said it before.
And 25.
No, this year. Letting in the first goal and then kind of not being that great.
Yeah.
He was there. He was there in spirit. Quebec. Represent Bennington. Attaboy. No, but yeah, Quebec used to be represented with at least a couple high-skilled, more than a couple, skaters, and then often the best goalie in the world.
Yeah. Anyways, it's a side thing, but like it's always brought up like, oh, we have to grow the game in the south of the U.S. and blah, blah, blah. Why not Quebec?
How about growing the game in Canada?
Why not? Look at Quebec. Quebec is having a real moment of crisis right now, and we're just not bringing. Anyways, to the side.
Well, this is a tangent that we should tackle at some point this year. If the NHL expands to 36 teams, which we hate, the fan base, like everybody hates it. It's a dumb idea. And they also don't include at least one more Canadian team.
That's bad.
Nerds to you. That's abysmal.
Yeah, it's gonna suck. Okay. About the World Cup 2028.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you quickly, because I don't know when we're going to talk about this again. What would you do with the format of the World Cup to make it feel different than the Olympics? And here's how I'll start this discussion. The FIFA World Cup, it was 32 teams. It's now going to be 48 teams. It's a huge event. In the Olympics, it's very exclusive. It's like 12 teams, 16 teams. And on the men's side, it's basically a U23 tournament with some exceptions. So it feels completely different. Even the women's World Cup versus the women's Olympics, it's 12 teams versus 32 teams, right? It's very exclusive to get to the Olympics. Basketball has the FIBA World Cup. It's the same concept. It's 32 teams. It's gigantic. They blow it out. The Olympics, it's very exclusive. It's 12 teams or 10 teams. Again, small number. What can the World Cup of hockey do to feel different? Because, like we mentioned earlier, the Olympics, like, it's not exclusive. It's 12 teams. There's already like 1 or 2 teams too many. And then it's further complicated by the fact that the World Championships have, I believe, 20 teams at them every year. So you have Great Britain, I think, in Division 1 this year. You have Austria there. You have Switzerland and Latvia and Slovenia. I don't even know if Slovenia is in the top division. But like it's really blown out. So the typical move for the World Cup would be, like we see in basketball, like we see in soccer, you expand the tournament to let everybody in. It's a World Cup. Okay, you can't really do that with hockey because I already think it's a bit of a farce to have some of these teams here. So just quickly, kind of rapid fire, what would your initial ideas be on like how can you make the World Cup look different without just like straight up copying what was done at the Olympics?
I don't love that every round robin team made the quarters.
Yep.
I think that's the smallest adjustment that would do the most good would be to remove those bottom. So if you go to 12 teams again, which let's discuss that as well after, if you go to 12 teams, the bottom 4 do not make the quarters and everybody plays the quarters. Like this bye to the quarters, leaping over this thing where teams got to play into the quarter, like do away with that. It was obvious that 4 teams in this tournament didn't belong. You could tell me 5, 6 didn't belong, and then we're getting into the territory of like, do you just start with 8 and then you get to like bye to the semis? And because that would be a whole other can of worms. Like if you really want to reduce this, you could reduce this to 10, as you said, do the 2 groups. You could reduce this to 8, do 2 groups again, and then have 6 teams and move on, or even 4. Like just, I think, trim the fat, which would also allow you, and if they did this at the Olympics, it would be even better because it would allow you to not have 3-on-3 overtime. If there were less games to be played, you could do every single game with like a wide window of 2 to 3 hours after the game of like, if they have to go to 5-on-5 overtime, they can. And maybe they limit that even, like it's a full period 5-on-5, and then it becomes 4-on-4 turning into 3-on-3 or something. Creativity is not a forte of hockey, as we know, but you're right to say they can't just blow it up. Like, you really want Great Britain in if you do 16 teams?
No, you don't.
You know, like,
so
it's not like soccer where just the parity among the top 50 teams is so much closer.
The one thing I really liked from 2016 World Cup, and I hope they bring it forward, was the best of 3 format for the final. I actually really like that idea, and I would like to see that brought forward again. So there's one immediate way that the Olympics will never do. They will never do something like that. So that's a great thing. Keep that. The other thing I'm wondering, and you saw it on the women's tournament, is how the women's tournament was structured from a group stage perspective. They put the 5 best teams in the same group and the next 5 in the next group. And what they basically did was the B group essentially eliminated 2 teams, and the A group was just fighting for seeding the whole time. There might be something there. I wonder if that was a test drive for the next men's tournament for the Olympics, because that would avoid Canada playing France, and that would avoid Finland playing Italy. Yeah. Because how you would break it down, you'd have Canada, USA, Sweden, Finland, and maybe Czechia. I don't know. Or Switzerland, I guess, based on world rankings. And then the second group would have Czechia and Slovakia and Germany and Italy and Denmark or whatever. And that way, like, Italy doesn't get annihilated and embarrassed, and they just quietly get kicked out.
I love that, actually, man, because that also at the top improves things, because we would have had a game against the USA. Yeah. So either way, it would have been a revenge game. Whoever won the first one, the other team would have been like fired up. Let's win. You're guaranteed to see Sweden and Finland, which we saw this year. We were lucky to, but we didn't get to see so many great rivalries until the very end. Slovakia, Czechia is another great rivalry you'd be pretty much guaranteed to see because they'd be in the lower quadrant, assuming Russia's there.
Yeah. That's the thing. We never really got to see the big teams face off. We got lucky to have Sweden and Finland in the same group, and then we got Canada, USA at the end. You're right. We never saw Czechia, Slovakia. Right. Sweden was kind of contained because of the US. They got Sweden, USA, but like I feel like we can do more with the matchups. So maybe that's a format that works. The complicating part is, again, the fact that like this is an NHL tournament. So what we're likely going to see is a Team Europe, which is kind of crappy.
A Team Europe. So
you'll have the 4 nations teams, and then it's what do they do about Russia? And if one way around it is, I don't think you can create 2 Team Europes, but I'm like, beyond Sweden and Finland, is there another European nation that could have ice a full team of NHLers and AHLers? Maybe Czechia if you let them go deep into the AHL, but it's...
Yeah, Czechia would be the most promising one.
And then like
Switzerland is another one that comes to mind.
I really don't want another Team North America either. I don't want to see that crap again. That was the most annoying team.
I would hate to not see Team Canada, but I do think that separating the country would allow for more Canadians to be in one of these tournaments, and it might actually sort of even the playing field. You could do the same with the Americans.
Too gimmicky. I already think Team Europe's already too gimmicky, but it's just a logistics thing.
Team Rest of World?
Yeah, I don't know what they do, but
it's interesting.
Even putting the roster stuff aside.
Like even if you're doing that, if they do Team Europe, it's 6 teams if Russia's there, and then 2 get eliminated, and then it's a semi. That doesn't scream like World Tournament of Hockey. That screams like we're throwing this together. Like it screams 4 nations.
Yeah, I think what likely ends up I think it's going to be a 6-team tournament, which sucks. They've said it's going to be bigger than that. I think logistics, like you have to get the Swedish league, the Finnish league, the KHL, and probably the Swiss league on board to pause their league for 2 weeks in February to allow these teams to march over. I'm not sure. I put this at the end because I don't think I have an answer to it other than I want it to feel different than the Olympics because I want these 2 tournaments to have a different vibe to it. I think the best of 3 in the final is something that can work. I think whether you have buys to the semifinal or you have like a page playoff wouldn't like be a terrible idea also, which is what they do at some curling tournaments, but it's essentially like it's a 6 teams or 8 teams qualify for the playoffs. You have 1 play 2 and the winner goes straight to the final. The Canadian Premier League, the soccer league in Canada does this, where the top 2 teams will play each other right away when the playoffs start. Winner goes to the final, loser lives on. Kind of like a knockout tournament. Anyways, I want it to be different. I want it to feel a bit different so that it doesn't just feel like we're retreading it. Because I hope the World Cup has kind of been around for the last 30, 40 years. It's been called the Canada Cup at points. We had a 96 World Cup, an 04 World Cup, and a 16 World Cup. It'd be nice to make this consistent. I think the NHL realizes through the 4 nations how much money it can make by having this rotate with the Olympics, and that way we only have the All-Star game every 2 years.
That's pretty good. It in terms of like a consistent thing that you can count on, a 4-year run. I think that's pretty good. And then if you got sick of the All-Star game, maybe you do a 4th thing. Like every year is completely different.
Yeah,
that could be interesting eventually. But the more likely scenario, I think, like you said, 6 teams. I think it's actually that they do try and blow it up like all the other ones and bring 16. In which case, what could be interesting is if the qualifications of the future world tournaments are based on a loser's bracket or something like that, where the top 8 go into a bracket and the bottom 8 go into a bracket, and you're fighting for your next sort of guaranteed spot. Maybe the top 2 teams are guaranteed. Everybody else, double IHF rankings over the next few years really matter.
The only way they can do that and have it work is if they sanction it with the double IHF and they basically say this is replacing the world championships every 4 years.
So why not combine it? That's what I'm curious about. And I'm coming into this blind because I really haven't done any research.
The world championships are
out there, but
end of April, first half of May. They completely overlap with the NHL playoffs.
Yeah.
So there's no time of year where you can do this that's not September, which no one has ever liked to do it.
It just seems to me that like if you're trying to grow the game in the entire world, which like correct me if I'm wrong, that's one of the main goals of the world tournament. You'd want to include as many countries as possible.
That's the best way to do it.
It.
It's basically an NHL approved, double IHF sanctioned world championship that we drum up as a bigger deal every 4 years. And by the way, the world championships are never in North America. I think it's happened once in our lifetime, Brian. I think it was like in Halifax in like 2010 or something. Beyond that, it's a Euro tournament. You can really blow it up, but you have to get the double IHF on board to tell them, hey, we're going to move your world championships from May into February. We're going to shut down all the leagues and we're going to have to split this and do some of it in North America, which now the NHL has to split some money and make a little bit less. But anyways, I thought it was
right there's your red flag, Jordan. Flashing red light, not happening.
All right. Well, listen, we should stop recording. We've been going for too long. We've distracted ourselves from heartbreak. I hope
I've forgotten already. I've put it out of my mind. I'm looking forward to 2 years from now.
Yeah, I mean, let me make sure I'm getting this right. I think it's Habs Islanders on Thursday, Habs Capitals on Saturday. That's what we have to look forward to. Look, this Canadian team, they had a great group stage, a bumpy quarters and semis. I thought they played fantastic hockey in the final. They got goalied. It's a 1 game off, like sudden death tournament, and it happened. It sucks. It happened to the fascists in the South, but what are you going to do? it happened. We'll move past it. Go Habs on Thursday. We'll see Matthew Schaefer. We'll see Bo Horvat. We'll see Captain Nick back in action. Very curious how Slafkovsky is going to look. I hope he's not tired.
Pissed off Cole Caulfield and Lane Hudson, who would have loved to be celebrating with those dudes.
Those guys, if anything, the big downfall of the U.S. winning is Cole and Lane won't be like shot out of a cannon because they won. Especially they won in 3-on-3. The jokes could have written themselves. But alas, we will wrap it up there. Thank you for listening to This Week in Habsland. We'll be back next week to get all the way back into the Habs as they approach the 3/4 point of the season. Remember, the season's kind of almost over, guys. Trade deadline's coming up. You can follow us on social media at HabslandPod. And until next Monday, go Habs.